This video is for Ms. Zelda and her friends, other survivors of the Holocaust. Mrs. Prieto and Mrs. Regnerus' 5th grade class has done a year-long study on the survivors of the Holocaust, as well as Anne Frank and Daniel's story. And what you see behind me is a culminating projects of the 46 students in these classes. Essentially what they did was they adopted a survivor and they painted their portrait and had a quote that meant something to them. And some of the children will share their thoughts about the project in just a moment. So here we have all the survivors, reminding people never to forget. And on this other side are favorite quotes from Anne Frank that we put on the wall along with the artists that created this little gallery here. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Avery, and Avery will share her experience.
This is mine. The quote I chose was, it was only 5 when the frenzy of evil reached my street, which kind of surprised me because, well, I realized that the Germans wouldn't spare anybody. They would, well, attack, harm, do anything they could. So I'm glad these people were persistent and suffered through the evil that we no longer have to face today.
My name is Nicole. The quote that I used for the Holocaust was, "As indeed as if my wishes and words became a reality, my Uncle Bernard came searching for me and found me." This kind of means to me as hope because a lot of people weren't found and there was many children and adults that had passed away. And this symbol of hope in this is that she was actually found.
All people deserve their humanity and rights to a safe life, by Holocaust survivor Herschel Fuchsman.
I felt that the child survivors went through a lot, and one of them is Zelda, and she has enough bravery to explain what happened through the time history of the Holocaust. And I think that it's very nice that she came to our school and explained to us what happened and her childhood.
There was a longing to revive my family in this country and rebuild a life, yet I can never forget the evil I had to live through as a youngster and then as a young adult under the communist rule, by George Bajogi.
My name's Jacqueline, and the quote that I chose says, when I think back to my adultity, I am in awe of my thoughts back then, pretty much, and it pretty much says that I chose it because it showed strength and it showed pretty much what they had to go through back then and the craziness of the Holocaust and how people didn't really care if they died at that point because it was so much for them.
Travel with God. May He protect you and keep you well. From Richard Wellheimer.
So my quote was pretty much about a cruel death that just happened right there. And her father comforted her about saying that it was just a mean person. And even though that death was really cruel to her, she still had hope, and her father also had hope that she would survive. And in the Holocaust, it's really hard to have that, but they still thought of it and it came true.
But how does one create a feeling of stability, and how does one learn to trust neighbors and leaders who had more than 500,000 Jews deported and killed? By Mary Eckstein.
My name is Dylan, and my person was Rachel Bash. My quote was, "Under the cover of night, we ran silently through the streets to a safe house. The older children holding the younger ones' hands to comfort them as if they cried." This tells me that the Jews were scared that they were going to get caught by the Nazis, and it reminds me to never do that again.
As rumors of deportation threatened our family, my father and uncles explored the possibility of getting a safe pass that was being issued by Raoul Wallen of the Swedish government. They seized the opportunity and relocated into a safe house, flying Swedish flags. George Broderick.
The quote that I did was, "A righteous life saves a soul," which I think means if you're a good person, that could affect other people positively. And I think it's just great to be a good person. And I think that that's what the Holocaust is all about. You have to be a good person.
Even though I knew their mass exterminations, there's always a little light of hope that shines in your heart, thinking that he may still be alive somewhere in this road. By Pierre Chanover.
So one thing that I learned from the Holocaust is that the people that survived, they aren't victims, but they're survivors. Like something that almost killed them, it made them stronger, and not that they might be scarred, but they survived the Holocaust, and that makes them a stronger person and a better human being, to remember to never forget what happened to these innocent people.
After our personal experience of oppression and loss, things were not the same. Andy Hartman.
My name is Prieto, and I'd like to thank you guys for introducing me to this new topic, which I actually didn't know before. This shows how long hope and confidence can go a long way in these sticky situations.
He and Gozelic restored our lives to ones of normality and of being cared for. Although my uncle was not accustomed to having children underfoot, with little time we all learned to understand each other and became a family. Regina Glisman.
Hi, my name is Ryder Schwartz, and I just think that it's very good that my teachers taught this subject, and I took it as like a very excellent way, and it showed me that no matter what race you are, what color you are, what you believe in, that we should all be treated equally. And Zelda, to me, she was an indication of hope, and she was through these hard and rough times, and she just kept going, and she came out as a survivor, and she just shows me that no matter how hard things get, just keep going. And I know that was a really tough time, and I'm just glad my teachers taught this, so now I fully understand the topic and what those survivors went through.
I do recall when I was 4 years old, a genteel girl walked up to me and said, "You are Jew, you killed Jesus." The shock of being accosted with such violent accusation brought me to tears. Magda Hammer.
Hi, I'm Anthony, and my person is right here. His name is Andy Hartman, and the quote is, "After our personal experience of oppression and loss, things were not the same." Andy Hartman. And I think that means, like, even though they went through these hard times, with all the loss and all the sadness, they still came through like Zelda.
In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. Think of all the beauty still left around you and be happy.
My name is Andrew, and the quote I chose was, "My Auschwitz tattoo on my left arm is my badge of courage and sacrifice." And I chose this quote because it shows how all the elderly Holocaust survivors of today can relate to one thing, that they all had to go through these rough times, and that even though it was really hard for all of them, this person that I chose from the quote, they still believe that, well, they made it, and they're so glad that they made it.
The good news is that you don't know how great you can be, how much you can love, what you can accomplish, and what your potential is.
No one has ever become poor by giving.
Human greatness does not lie in wealth or power, but in character and goodness.
My name is Simran, and the quote I chose is, "I do recall when I was 4 years old, a genteel girl walked up to me and said, 'You are a Jew, you killed Jesus.' The thought of me being accosted with such violent accusation brought me to tears.
I chose this quote because it made me understand that I've been through some hard times, and this isn't even half of it. This is just part of what they had to go through.
I hope that young people of this and future generations will ensure nothing like that crime against humanity will ever happen again. David Rosenblum.
My name is Amanda, and I chose Judith Goldstein, and I chose the quote, "As the past recedes, I need to make sure that the secrets of history are not passively or actively forgotten, destroyed, or denied." I chose this quote because it reminds me that the past can never be deleted.
Hello, my name is Matthew Gross, and I chose Max Markovitz, and a quote I had from him was, "The joy of discovering our sisters Leia and Zita alive rekindled our will to live and rebuild." To me, this meant that when the Holocaust survivors got out of the camps and they saw their families, it completely gave them hope and the spirit to go on and living.
If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, Zelda and friends. We will always do the right thing and never forget. Pause.
4, 3, 2.
Group hug.
If you're tossing and you're turning and you just can't fall asleep, I'll sing